This is Mathulele Broadcasting Corporation.
Thank you very much, guys, for an interesting engagement today in reacting to the appalling documentary by Al Jazeera that exposes what we have spoken to and spoken about even before our independence. The first thing that I would say is that this explains what most of us have said, that the economy of Zimbabwe is run as a mshikashika, as a spaza shop. And at the center of that spaza shop is the so-called Reserve Bank of Zimbabwe. That spaza shop is the so-called Reserve Bank of Zimbabwe, through its previous governor, Gideon Gono, and the current one, John Mangutya. These are people who have been used by successive ZANU governments to siphon Zimbabwe's resources for personal and individual gain. I will say this because Zimbabweans need to start connecting the dots, because even when Robert Mugabe was president, the Reserve Bank of Governor through Gideon Gono was doing this and even more. At the center of the coup in November 2017 was a fight for the seat at the high table of looting. They deposed Robert Mugabe primarily so that they will be in control of this gold looting and diamond looting. You will recall that just before Robert Mugabe was deposed, he mentioned that some people had looted 15 billion US dollars. Some of us thought he was senile. Robert Mugabe knew what was happening. So what has since happened now is that Emmerson Mnangagwa and his administration have only improved and perfected the model of looting. That's why you will find that during Robert Mugabe's time, he would use official channels in the looting, but the Emmerson Mnangagwa now even appoints fake prophets as ambassadors at large by tweaking that model in an effort of deception to deceive Zimbabweans so that they do not see exactly what is happening. So Emmerson Mnangagwa then makes strategic appointments, and most of those people are appointed to be the vehicles through which they loot are clansmen, friends and family, and also non-criminals who are white boys that became his runners. So in his model, Emmerson Mnangagwa then gets a diplomatic passport to some fake prophet who is now supposed to be some top diplomat. That diplomatic passport given to this stupid angel has nothing to do with any diplomacy at all. People must never mistake it for any diplomacy. That passport was meant for him to carry bags of money and bags of diamonds and gold and pass airports in the world and go unchecked. There's nothing about diplomacy that this guy was appointed for. But Zimbabweans must be ready for ZANU-PF to come out swinging after this. I can assure you that in the next few hours, ZANU-PF will be running a robust narrative that all this was done in order to bust sanctions. They will say to us, we were sanctioned all over the world, we could not export anything, so we had to create a system through which to earn US dollars. You must never, any Zimbabweans who will buy into that narrative will be fooling themselves and will be fools to believe that, because the truth of the matter is that 2 years ago, the Auditor General released a report, and the Auditor General is a government institution under this same government, released the report that said Zimbabwe is losing 3 billion worth of gold through smuggling. This is a report that we got from the Auditor General. So, and recently, a few weeks ago, the same government increases salaries for the army, increases salaries for the police, all in a way in anticipation of this documentary to bribe the security forces to ensure that they do not react in a manner they reacted when Robert Mugabe was deposed. So they've managed to deceive us, the general population, They are trying to deceive the security forces. They are trying to deceive the world. They are trying to deceive even people of religion by appointing one of their own to be the chief thief on our resources. But what is very important for everyone to understand here is that they are running a narrative that Nyika Inovakwa Neve Nevayo. But all the boys that have been shipping our resources, our wealth, are white boys. And can you imagine that one of the South African guys who deals in cigarettes in South Africa actually loans the government of Zimbabwe up to $250 million to buy the gold? So that is why at the beginning I said our economy is run under Mshika, where we are getting trinkets of money from white people to buy our resources. We give them to sell at whatever conditions because they are the ones that give you money. So what we have done is ZAPU is already released a media statement, and we have said to every Zimbabwean, we need to start consulting everybody, the church, the religious groups, the youths, civic society. It must cut across any religion, any political inclination for us to call everyone to action. We need, of course, to be a bit patient because more revelations are coming. But at the end of it, Zimbabweans must hold every person implicated in this to account. We need to demand that those that are implicated are brought to book. I thank you. I have said it in our statement. We mentioned that what Al Jazeera has done is to point to the fact that the walls of Jericho have cracks. What Zimbabweans need to do now is to simply push that wall, and that wall is going to collapse. We have begun in earnest wide consultation with all sectors of our society in Zimbabwe and those in the diaspora. And we are doing it not as ZAPU, but we are doing it as Zimbabwean citizens who are concerned and worried about the future of not only our children, but the vulnerable and the weak in our societies. We should be united by that fact, and we should start creating a platform together as Zimbabweans. Whether you belong to this party, to this church, to this group, we must be united by the simple fact that we are angry, extremely angry. We are hungry, extremely hungry. We are poor, extremely poor, and we have no medicines when we get sick. And we should confront the elephant in the room. We will be mobilizing Zimbabweans in the diaspora in South Africa and Zimbabweans back home to confront this regime. And confront it we will. You must remember that all of us, me and you and the next person next to you, are children of heroes, heroes of Zipra, heroes of Zanla. We must understand that those that fought for us and are in power today are not doing that which they went to war to do. They have desecrated the legacy of the liberation struggle, and us, their children, should fight back and regain control so that we can advance that which Josiah Tongokara fought for, so that we can advance that which Joshua Mqabu Nkomo fought for, so that we can advance that which fought for. If we do not do that as a generation, our children and their children will spit on our graves. It is the right time now. But what you asked an important question and say way forward. We cannot do anything until we have enjoyed the other 3 episodes. I can assure you, Zimbabweans, that worse is coming. Those that have cried on the first episode will cry tears of blood by the end of the 4 episodes. So let's be patient, but let's start mobilizing. Let's start talking. Let's create platforms of uniting Zimbabweans to fight back. But let's wait until the 4th episode. By that time, others would have hanged themselves. By that time, as Zimbabweans would have found each other and united to fight back. Fight back, Zimbabweans, and we should fight back. This business of saying they will kill us, they will beat us, Smith did. But our fathers, our mothers, our aunts went to war without any incentive for it. We have an incentive now. We know that we have gold that is being stolen. If you cannot fight for your gold, if you cannot fight for your diamonds, when our fathers fought for nothing, they went to war, stayed in the bushes for nothing. And most of them are dying with nothing. And today, we are worried about wearing Gucci's. We are worried about having the most expensive cell phone. when our country is being looted dry by these thieves. Fight back we should. Thank you.
Inspired.